Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Today we're back here with Phantom Strider. Today we got the worst and best modern cartoons of the 2020s. So yeah, basically, cartoons that came out around the 2020s. So, well, I'll probably remember these. So, let me know your favorite out of these and which one you're glad you missed. Let's check it out.
Howdy.
Yep.
The world has changed a lot since I last talked about the best and worst modern cartoons about 8 years ago.
Man, 8.
Like the 2010s, I consider the 2020s its own special phase of animation. And today, I'd once again like to look at the best and worst of that phase. This is a goal video from my Patreon, and it's about time I make it after they save my butt from becoming an incompetent plumber. I'll try and avoid web cartoons and try to stick to cartoons that have streamed on television. So Amazing Digital Circus is streamed on TV, so we can talk about it. But sadly, so is Cocomelon, so we can talk about that one too. I'm sorry. And obviously, this is a best and worst, and as always, my top list will be very personal and subjective.
That was YouTube
just like
only.
when I did this list back in 2016. I mean, for some reason back then, I put Steven Universe as the #1 best modern cartoon. Like, yeah, the cartoon's a unique experience, but what the hell was wrong with me? So as always, take this list with a grain of salt. We'll chat about a combination of my personal favorite modern cartoons, the worst modern cartoons, and remarkable cartoons. The remarkable cartoons are basically cartoons I consider objectively really high quality, but didn't appeal to me personally as much as other people. With that explained, let's step into the cartoons of the 2020s. Let's start with a worst modern cartoon, Cocomelon, aka Poop Melon. I really wish I could discount this one since it started in 2018. But tragically, it's being produced constantly, even in 2025. So we've got to consider it. And boy does it fit well into the worst modern cartoons. Poop Melon actually makes me miss Peppa Pig. I mean it, I actually enjoyed dissecting the silliness of Peppa Pig. At least there was something to dissect. Characters with some depth, not much, but at least they were trying. At least Peppa Pig was
don't really watch those kind
of
cartoons.
But Poop Melon is so bottom-rung mindless that it's like the creepy video result if we asked an AI to produce a kids show based solely on 2,000 hours of Baby Shark nursery rhyme and surprise egg videos. Ugh. Poop Melon has one purpose and one purpose only. Keeping kids aged embryo to 1 entertained with repeated nursery rhymes and continuously more inane, annoying voices. Even if I try to analyze an episode, using the word episode is a vague term at best. An episode is more like a loose set of inane nursery rhymes with random babbling infant voices every 4 seconds or so non-stop. Although I do feel the phrase made by AI is way overused nowadays. No, Wish was not made by AI, it's just a not so good Disney movie. But in this case, it really does feel like it's produced by an artificial intelligence. There's no story, and even the songs feel like a random string of algorithms struck together into something bizarre that isn't quite coherent. I don't even like to watch it, but
yeah, and honestly, this can actually get brain melting. Like, I'm not kidding. Sunny V2 actually covered Cocomelon. I'm not kidding. And I think they're actually, like, inhibits development. Like, I don't know if it's, like, from an actual scientist, or at least behavioral scientist. I don't remember. Like, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, it's so simplified, it's actually dumbing down, like, the kids that actually watch it. Adults are like, what? When they watch it, but kids, it's just yay. Like, I think I even saw some like comments on the parents that were saying like they watch Cocomelon and they swear they took a step back in speaking. Like, that got me like held back in pre-K, I think, kindergarten. I don't know. It's been a long time, so yeah. I'm pretty sure if I watched this, I'm pretty sure I'd be 2 years behind the rest of my class. I swear. And they still wouldn't figure out what was going on. Again, thank God this wasn't around my age. Sheesh. Anyway.
For too long, because I worry my brain will melt out my ears. The characters look creepy and wrong. And the second you look closely
Again, check out
at what
Sunny
they're
V2
doing,
on
it
Cocomelon,
makes no
you'll understand
sense
why.
and seems strange. Like in this
And the
scene,
fact this
you
thing
can
is
vaguely
still
piece
going. I
together
think
the
this is
algorithm
classified
how
as
JJ
brain
and
rot
his
now.
friend find
Think
this
about it.
kid's ball while playing superhero. But when the kid gets back the ball to play baseball by himself, he immediately happily runs inside the house. Anyway, let's hear from the poor suffering people who actually had to swallow the most of this show, the parents.
Yep.
One of the main complaints from parents was the endless recycled
Yeah, annoying, repetitive, large
material.
recycled too.
Cocomelon is annoying, recycled content that goes on forever, and it milks the heck out of Baby Shark. Yes, it's for kids, but as a parent, I have to listen to it too.
But the frustrating part is, it just seems to have this weird power over a lot of young kids. Allison said as much
You
in
ain't wrong.
her review.
See?
Although as an adult, I find it annoying. My son is mesmerized when it's on, and it lets me cook without him clinging to my leg.
Oh, that's an adorable compromise. Joseph's thoughts were more short and concise.
Yeah.
This is the worst kids show ever. Worst CGI ever. I give it a big fat 0.
Interestingly, I think Madeline fan nailed on the head the biggest problem with Cocomelon.
Yeah.
Why this kid's show is given so much hate compared to, say, Sesame Street, as if the two could even be compared in quality.
Cocomelon doesn't entertain. It distracts children via overstimulation.
See?
The CGI is very vapid
Yeah, it doesn't
and
even hold a
resembles
shot.
more a shovelware Nintendo 64 game. Parents should
Shovelware,
instead
ouch.
try a company that puts more effort into their shows, like Wild Brain, Sesame Workshop, or PBS.
And I agree with all those choices wholeheartedly. I think the only reason that Cocomelon gets a pass from some parents is there's some educational content in there. But this isn't people
Yeah,
trying
again,
to help
this ain't
kids.
Sesame Street.
It's
Go
the
somewhere
sad
else.
end result of someone seeing the money to be made from kids mindlessly mashing their tablets on surprise egg videos on loop. The popularity of Cocomelon just breaks my heart. We have Lazy Town, Puffin Rock, Thomas the Tank Engine, Arthur, Blue's Clues. We have 4,701 episodes of Sesame Street available to kids, and the show can't even find a home anymore. And this is what sells endless merchandise? This is what keeps the toddlers entertained? Hell, I'd take Paw Patrol over this sad, mindless drivel. Any of PBS, any British cartoon, almost any of the streaming services will give a richer experience to kids than Cocomelon. But that being said, I don't blame parents. If this drivel can give parents a break for a few minutes to do the dishes, I get it. It's a reluctant choice to put on for parents. Parents have a relentlessly tough job in raising kids. But why not try little Timmy instead on Bluey? I assure you, little kids have been shown to enjoy this one too. A lot. And now for a
Yeah, again, like I said, don't show Cocomelon because they will fall back, okay? You're not going to learn anything, or at least the kids aren't going to learn anything, okay? Just gonna save them the headache. I mean, sure, they think, oh, Cocomelon went up, and they go straight there. But trust me, don't, okay? Trust me. Just check out Sunny V2 if you don't believe me. He did an episode, like I said, just save your kid the brain cells. Anyway, here's one I personally recommend.
remarkable entry. The
Amazing Digital Circus!
Is it a comedy
Sorry, I have
or
to
is
do it every
it
time.
existential horror?
It's
this
both.
show walks a fine line of being both simultaneously, but at the same time, it's not visually a dark cartoon. In fact, this animation is like nothing I've ever seen. This show is huge in popularity, but this is a case where I personally found the concept too unpleasant to really enjoy it as much as many others. The main character Pomni is essentially trapped in a twisted nightmare dimension dressed up like a circus, where she's left for eternity to occupy herself until existential dread takes over her, which would turn her into a dark, glitchy abyss creature. Though at the same time, when your main character is this adorable, it's hard to take it too seriously. We meet a lot of quirky characters accompanying Pomni, like Ragatha, Kinger, and Jax. But I had the same personal issue here that I had with Hell of a Boss. I just personally didn't connect with any of these characters. At first I thought maybe the characters felt too different to who I am. Maybe they felt too much like caricatures for me. But as the episodes go on, they do develop these characters.
See?
So maybe I was too distracted by the uncomfortable concept? Why couldn't I enjoy this circus like everyone else was?
I think it just takes a
what
while.
I was most irked by was the animation. This may sound crazy as the show's artwork is beautiful, and the colors are simply outstanding. But that's just it. I found the colors too garish. I was watching the show with Nin, and she said something around episode 3 that really resonated with my problem.
So much effort is on screen, but there's too much going on for me.
And likewise, it's visual overload for my senses. It's like every single frame is a YouTube thumbnail with the saturation filters turned up to 200%. This was among the most recommended cartoons for me to put in the best. But for me personally, I don't think it's an amazing digital circus.
Thanks,
I think
Boo.
Cora Converse had a good point on IMDb.
That pretty good digital circus. First thing I said after watching the pilot was, meh, it's okay. But each episode is a constant improvement. It's certainly not for everyone, but its intended audience will enjoy every minute.
Even if a few people like me don't get into the circus spirit, I recognize this series has brought out some talented, creative writers and animators into YouTube's spotlight. And similar to Has Been Hotel, this show has brought out countless laughs and smiles. And I basically discussed the only 2 reviews that weren't 10 out of 10s on IMDb. I think one of the top reviews had summarized who this show is for very well.
This web series is very tragic and surreal at the same time. I would recommend this show to horror geeks, nerds, and people who get nostalgic from looking at the circus.
If you are curious, digital
I mean, to be
circus
fair, I
episodes
got
are
into it
all
because it was like
available
from the
for free right here on
SG4 channel,
YouTube.
so
And I can't imagine
why
you'll
not?
have ever seen anything like it.
Yeesh.
Next up is one of my personal favorites.
You know, that should have worked. If only I used a little less gunpowder.
Hey, Cuphead.
The Cuphead Show. This animation style was charming to me within seconds. Remember those old Popeye or Felix the Cat cartoons?
Mostly Popeye for me.
No, of course you don't. You're not 100 years old. Well, this
feel
100-year-old here remembers them well. And here in the Inkwell Isles, we're given an updated, old-timey aesthetic. And it's very pleasing to the eye.
you got some claymation
This show
backgrounds
gives
there.
me what I call
it does.
the delighted laugh, repeatedly. It kind of sounds like, ha ha ha, where I'm caught off guard by the surprised cleverness of a moment. The first thing you might notice is it's got so many clever animation jokes.
Oh, there you
They kind of remind me of the Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner gags. Like, take this one. Cuphead is pulling the moon down to bring the sun up. That is wonderfully absurd in how it somehow makes sense in cartoon logic. Reviews of the Cuphead show were mostly positive. I like the way the film critic Stewart put it in his description.
It's fast and funny, and you almost certainly won't die 188 times while watching it. What's not to like?
And yeah, it's
I mean,
filled
you ain't
with
wrong.
characters and scenery based off the game. So if you've played Cuphead much, you're likely to have reminders of one too many deaths. But some critics say they didn't like how family-friendly and quote-unquote empty it was. For example, the film critic Megan said,
It's an ambitiously gorgeous yet empty distraction. This hollow visual feast can't capture this game's magic.
and I do get some of where Megan's coming from. It's worth mentioning up front, this isn't going to dive you into a deep story. In the first episode, Cuphead loses his soul in a carnival game by the devil, and Lucifer occasionally pops in to try and claim it back. Other than that, the boys just run into random mayhem wherever they go. But personally, I don't think the dialogue is empty at all. In fact, at times, I'd call it Animaniacs level sharp. Like when the devil discusses how he's increased gluttony, rage, and wars without ever fully referencing a tragic or non-kid event.
What's he talking about? I don't know, but we haven't had a break in 3,000 years, so just go with it.
So overall, this adult cartoon watcher wasn't bored by the writing at all. But even without the writing, I found myself caught up in the constant visual variety and style of their world. While Megamind Rules episodes left my mind within seconds, I distinctly remember each episode of the Cuphead show. Similar to a show like Amazing Digital Circus, there's a complete nonsensical absurdity to this show. Yet there's still a structure to the story I can understand and keep me grounded. We'll talk about that show later.
Wait, this isn't finished yet! Don't look!
But of two
that a baseball?
fantastic shows, my personal favorite is Cuphead. Sometimes simplicity can be vapid and boring, but I think there's something golden and artistic in Cuphead's simplicity. I guarantee you will not be able to predict what happens in most episodes. There was only one episode I found dull and predictable, and that was episode 2. So I recommend skipping that one and jumping straight into Cuphead and Mugman wrecking the club ship of the two retired boxing brothers.
Ooh, 3.
Cuphead show easily takes me back to the cartoons of my youth, but with the polish and pace I'd expect in 2025. There's not a ton of substance, but damn is that aesthetic a pleasing distraction. And just a quick moment.
Yeah, honestly, I think when you compare Cuphead to like some Looney Tunes, if you like Looney Tunes, you'll definitely like it, you know? And this is a guy who hasn't watched the show. I mean, I played the game twice, so I don't understand the Cuphead references, so... Anyway, looks like Strider got an update for us.
To explain to you what's been happening on the channel. Times are understandably tough for people, so there's been a huge rate of cancelling on my Patreon. I'm not in the danger zone yet, so I don't have to go back to training as a plumber yet. But if you do enjoy my vids and would like to spare me half a cup of coffee, a couple of bucks really does make a difference. I don't like to plug, but it really would be nice if my revival lasts longer than like 6 to 8 months. I mean, if 6 to 8 months is all I get, I'll take it, and I'm really grateful. But for a couple of bucks, you do get to choose all the videos that get made on the channel. You'll also get exclusive Patreon videos and, of course, early channel videos. And you'll allow me to keep doing regular videos on the channel and livestream charities for good causes. Views aren't coming back up, and I don't get very many morally trustworthy sponsors nowadays, so every little bit really does help. Besides, you're the best sponsor I could possibly ask for. Oh, and next charity coming up is for the AFSP, and it should be after this video. With that said, thanks for your patience, and let's continue. And for our next worst cartoon, we have Chip Chiller. Oh dear. When Bluey isn't an option, you get the no frills imported can alternative, though it does make a strange hiss sound when you open it. And yes, that bland, flavorless aftertaste is normal. But apparently this show wasn't made to try and cash in on Bluey's success, according to the show's CEO and news sources anyway. Warning ahead, the story behind this show got way weirder than I could have imagined. I honestly would prefer if this had just been a cheap knockoff. You see, the CEO of Chip Chiller's production company said this show was made for conservative parents who don't want their children to grow up with quote-unquote woke ideology. Chip Chiller was funded and distributed by the video service called BentKey.
That's a stupid name! See, I told you it was stupid!
Yeah, apparently the CEO named the entire video service after his keychain. I tried to look up their company, but Google just gave me how-tos on how to fix a bent key. I'll get into that comments on the show later once I refine my search. But agenda or not.
Honestly, if I was searching, I'd probably be like, okay, Bent Keys Studios. Oh, there we go. But still, what? And also, woke ideologies. Like, what kind of ideologies are we talking about here? Jeez, no wonder this is on the bad side. And they got it in here about this one. I mean, I've heard a couple of cartoons, but... anyway.
Did people actually enjoy Chip Chiller? Well, no. It's weak as water. And by Jeebus, it's boring. And what even are these accents?
Just you wait. I'm gonna be first at something. You'll see.
Is this like a kid accent? Are they British? Are they Swedish? Until they started getting patriotic and waving American flags around, I honestly couldn't tell what culture they're meant to be. I feel like this is the equivalent to the show Gogglebox, but for kids. Nothing particularly eventful ever happens, nothing particularly profound or interesting happens, and nothing is learned. The two kids are flavorless and annoying, not nearly as interesting as Bluey or Bingo. But oh wait, my mistake, it's completely different to Bluey. These animals aren't dogs, they're chinchillas, a skittish South American rodent. Kind of reminds me of a guinea pig, but with rat-like ears. In fact, this is an entire family of homeschooled chinchillas. Anyway, let's try the Google search company bent key. No, I don't need a locksmith to duplicate my car key. God, that's a stupid name. Alright, let's try TV company bent key. Ah, here we go.
Hey!
In the words of the CEO of the company who funded Chip Chiller, to dramatically summarize, because he yammered on about this for like 40 minutes, the bent key shows are meant to challenge the quote-unquote left takeover. This makes me sad.
Ugh.
Well, I guess
Why
the
do we
first
keep bringing
step to them
politics and
achieving
everything?
whatever agenda they might have is making a cartoon people enjoy. Unfortunately for them, that didn't happen yet.
Wait.
For example, let's take a look at this scene. The parent's voice is okay, but Chip's kid voice is downright ear-grating.
I think we can make the traditions even more perfecter. As long as we're wait for it. Thankful.
He sounds like one of those nauseating cutesy kid characters from 1950s Disney movies, where their entire character seems to be, I'm young and innocent. Notice that Bluey and Bingo normally talk with proper grammar, and if they didn't, they'd probably be taught how to say sentences properly. Bluey and Bingo are clearly young children, but they don't make me want to roll my eyes and rage quit an episode. The animation is
even if I heard that, I'd be like,
fine, I guess,
did I time travel back or something?
Unnatural
I'm out.
and stilted, and I can't quite figure out why. Like, their eyes don't really move much, and I can't seem to see what they're actually emoting beyond inoffensive wide-eyed expression. I'm on the spectrum. Throw me a bone here. I don't read expressions well. The best comparison I can think of is the Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka movie, where the animation just feels wrong
way off,
and unsettling. There's no quirkiness or memorability to the scenes either.
So,
it just feels uncomfortable
honestly,
and
these kind of look like
bland
like
simultaneously.
on the Disney Channel
But I
back in
was
the day.
curious what actual
I don't
kids
know why.
and parents thought.
Also,
They're the ones
doesn't
who
it
this is
feel
for,
like that?
after all.
Ugh.
So I checked out parent reviews for this show.
Episode
and
1.
Yowza, I'm surprised
Meh.
how much attention this has got.
Oof.
Yes, I know, other people have covered it. That's probably why. Anyway, this is what a father of 2 and his kids thought.
After 1.5 episodes, my 5-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son asked for something else. My wife and I didn't like it either.
Oh.
It's just bland. My daughter wanted Gabby's dollhouse instead. My daughter and son have had outstanding growth emotionally and intellectually while watching various other cartoons. But this just feels like junk food for their growth.
That's the thing. I think that really captures the problem.
Again, kids
Bluey wasn't
shows
just
can be
educational.
entertaining
It was
and intellectual.
funny and heartfelt
Just
too.
have some
Yeah,
fun
it can be
Bluey, you know?
corny, but it actually
Like I said.
engages a lot of
Oops.
kids. And many parents consider Bandit and Chili to have admirable parenting skills.
See?
But I look at Chip Chilla and it seems to engage a few thousand
Yeah.
people. Yeah, maybe next time, Daily Wire CEO, put those $100 million into a charity instead. How about the AFSP or the Save the Children Foundation? I assure you, they could have done a lot more good with $100 million than Daily
And a
Wire
lot
did
less
with
less
a
brain
network
cells,
they
thank
named
you.
after a stupid keychain.
Yeesh.
Please excuse me for losing my cool. It's been a tough year. Moving
Fair
on.
enough.
Our next
Next.
remarkable choice.
Hey, Owl House. Woohoo!
Owl House. How do you describe Owl House? Well, it's like Hogwarts, but with a dropout witch, a training witch, and a weird bone pet. Luz is a young lady who finds herself in the land of the Boiling Isles, a world of witches, wizards, and very unusual looking creatures.
Are you going to tell me this is all a fantastical dream? Give me your skin!
You were saying.
Really very little for me to nitpick.
Yeah,
in this show.
basically,
the voice
Phoenix
acting
Trumps
feels
dropped on their
perfectly
heads.
chosen for
Woohoo!
every character.
So Lilith wants to nab this power for the Emperor, huh?
And a quick joke to make you smirk is never far away. The writing is clever, and there's an emotional
True.
weight as the series goes on.
You always thought you were better than me, that I could never beat you in anything.
My only nitpick is I feel like I'm the completely wrong demographic for this show, and the animation style just doesn't meld with me personally. There's certainly
To be
nothing
fair,
wrong
season
with
one's
this
a
animation.
bit of a rough start,
Personally,
but
Fiona and Kek's
later on,
animation or
boy,
Cuphead's
does it ramp
animation
up.
felt a lot more unique and just drew me in more. But that aside, the main character Luz is friendly, kind, and easy to support in her journey to become a witch. And Ida is a surprisingly complex auntie-like figure with pearls of wisdom, despite the fact that she's a garbage collector.
According to them, that means being in a coven, but I never joined one and I'm better than all of them combined. You gotta be your own witch.
Once or twice, I even found myself saying, huh, true. That's a good way of looking at it. Probably the biggest pet peeve I have is I just don't like the design of King, the little bone guy. To me, he looks weirdly cutesy and tacked on.
My main character's the king, the ruler of demons.
But that's more of an aesthetic taste and barely a complaint at
Again.
all. Also, I bet I'm not the only one who thinks this intro is an absolute gem.
Woohoo! Whoa, go.
Many cartoon intros I'll hit the skip button on while streaming, but I never found myself skipping the Owl House intro. It really just throws me into the Boiling Isles fantasy world every time I hear it. And it has one of the most soothing yet invigorating melodies I've heard in a cartoon soundtrack. It's actually among my favorite intros of the last decade of cartoons. But for whatever reason, I just didn't connect with Owl House like many others did. So I'd like to hear from a friend of mine. Someone who has appreciated the entire Owl House series for years, and it holds a close place in their heart. Hey, GeekToons, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Strider. It's nice to be here. Owl House is one of my absolute favorite cartoons, and there's multiple reasons why. For one, out of any series from both the 2010s and 2020s, I never quite clicked with a cartoon the way I did with Owl House. From its very first episode to its very last in Season 3, it just resonated with me. Don't get me wrong, I love Gravity Falls, Wander Over Yonder, Phineas and Ferb, and other series from Disney, but I just adored Owl House to hell and back. I even shed a few tears when watching the finale with a friend of mine. The show's premise is as magical as its world, and each of its characters are charming in their own unique ways. The Boiling Isles really offer a ton of exploration of the human condition and human flaws.
I definitely felt that as well. There was a lot of moments in the show that just left me reflecting, and without them shoving the message down my throat.
Not to mention that the Owl House shows off a fanbase that still remains among the most amazing displays of talent I've seen for a cartoon. The cosplays, animation, and especially the art made my day sometime. And lastly, to get a little more personal, it got me through a lot of the harder times of going into my 20s. It was mid-pandemic and I was being pressured into choosing a path for my future. So this was a series that got me to calm myself after so many long days of stress. Despite the show's cancellation, I really do hold this series so close to my heart. I've watched so many other cartoons.
I'm just glad they were able to finish the story,
always remain the king to me.
That's beautiful. I haven't felt that way about a cartoon for a long time. I've no doubt Owl House remains an emotionally moving, outstanding cartoon of the 2020s, and well worthy of the outstanding list. And with that said...
Wait, I have to say hi.
Oh yeah,
Him.
Nin GeekToons. GeekToons Nin.
Hey Nin.
Hey Nim, how you
Good to see
doing?
ya.
Hi, GeekToons. I brought you a red flower.
Oh, thanks. What is it?
It's an amaryllis. They're
Amaryllis.
associated with determination, pride, and strength. That's you.
Aw, I love
Thanks.
it. It's my favorite color too.
Yay.
Where is this going?
And now
Okay,
for
back
a
to it.
remarkable choice. Bluey.
Bluey, hey.
Objectively, Bluey was such a breath of fresh air. Before
Sorry, my buddy actually did an Owl House stuff, and honestly, the story of Owl House is really incredible. Like, not just in the story-wise of the story, but the show itself. Like, no one expected it to be able to finish since, like, again, it got canceled for a while. But, luckily, we were able to get that last season and finish off the story on a high note. I'm not going to spoil it, so go check out the show yourself if you want to understand it. So, yeah, like I said, it definitely brings up the whole story. And the finale, man, really brings it all together. And like I said, I really love the show as, well, even though I not really watched it, you do remember it. And, well, like I said, it's amazing. You know? And also the, complexity of the characters, like, Amity, Lou's this relationship. I'll, again, not spoil it, but they do get together. I'm not kidding. Anyway.
For this,
back to
we
Bluey.
had years of the manipulative, brain-scrambling garbage for kids that is Cocomelon. While Peppa Pig filled the void in kids' cartoons and ranged from mediocre to abysmal in quality. But then, suddenly, these
There's
Australian
Bluey.
dogs hopped onto the screen. From my own freaking city. And these dogs just seemed to take over the world. With content that I was proud to see making waves. Because unlike Cocomelon, this show isn't just a bunch of keys being jangled in a toddler's face.
True.
Bluey is actually a smart kids show and multi-layered. The core premise is just two sisters learning. They face developmental events and play imaginary games. Maybe Bluey got a bike lesson. Maybe she got her first bit of money from the Tooth Fairy. Maybe her dad tries to teach her chess. In these simple stories, kids can learn and relate with what Bluey and Bingo are going through. Or in many
almost.
cases, maybe the adults can relate to trying to parent their kids right. Many kids and adults like the show, endless merchandise is selling, even the terrible Rush Christmas games are selling. Many kids really connect with Bluey and her
too bad
little
on the
sister
game,
Bingo.
too.
And many parents would relate to Bluey's parents Bandit and Chili. No parent in this show is just a single-layered oppressive authority figure like you might find in a Disney movie. I was gonna say old Disney movies, but Moana still had this shtick with her dad. In Bluey, where the characters do the
True.
right or wrong thing, they're all humanized to feel
there's always a
real
lesson
and
into it,
relatable.
you know?
The mum Chili is probably my personal favorite character. I think her bio quote really captures her character
on their heads
well.
later.
She said
For
this
now,
to her
just
husband when he was trying to teach their 4- and 6-year-old kids chess.
Work on their heads later. For now, just their hearts.
There you
There's
go.
no official manual when you become an adult on how to do it right, and there's certainly
True.
no mandatory manual or qualification required for parenting. So I often find I don't even realize that I'm learning as I watch Bluey. Even though I only have nieces and a nephew, watching an episode always has me observing how the parents respond to good behavior, not so good behavior, and just how to have fun with their kids. I even remember them covering why "because I said so" isn't a particularly good method of parenting, while entertaining toddlers at the same time. An authoritative versus authoritarian parenting is something I otherwise only learnt in my psychology course at university. I have a lot of things, particularly in recent years, that I'm proud of my country for. And Bluey is one of those things I'm really proud of Australia for. And next up, we have one of my personal favorites, Fiona and Cake. This sequel to Adventure Time is outright labeled an adult animation series, but not necessarily because it's more violent or raunchy than the original. Yeah, it's more gruesome in moments. But it's more adult, mostly because it takes a more adult look at things. Your average superhero always has a structure, a purpose, a place they're going. But the characters in this show feel real because they have to build that purpose every single day, just like in real life. What do I mean? Well, when a cartoon show or movie ends, things are often tied up with a nice little conclusive bow. But Fiona and Cake lingers on those real challenges everyone experiences on a day-to-day basis. Struggling to find enthusiasm and drive to get out of bed just to do your daily job?
Welcome to Queenie Bus Tours, where bus dreams come true.
When I have free time, where do I go? What do I do? Can I stay connected to the people I care about? Or
I feel
are
like
they
an
just going to drift
existential crisis
apart
kind of
from
thing, doesn't it?
Let's hang out soon, for real, bye!
Okay.
Fiona and Cake is intended for fans of the show like me, who, well, grew up. In fact, all the characters in Adventure Time have grown up with us in real time.
I can't relate to any of this anymore. This world, these people.
And on a side note, Finn looks exactly like what I'd picture a personality like his to look like in his 20s or 30s. A slicked up bearded Gen Z who spent his younger years adventuring and camping in forests without any real structure or formal education in his life. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way either. That's just Finn, and I think it's fascinating.
The invisible forces of the universe will guide us right where we need to be.
On another side note, this scene perfectly captures what I suspect the perception of a cat is.
Wah wah, cake wah. Wah wah wah, food. Wah 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 wah.
Like, that's all that our cat Shadow seems to
imagine that.
recognize. His name and the words dinner and brekkie. I try not to overuse the word authentic, but there's just no better word to describe this show. It kinda reminds me of an adult version of Puffin Rock, where I'm just getting a taste of these characters' daily lives, but getting a dimension-hopping plot in the background. In 2014, Adventure Time was a cartoon I wanted. In 2025, Fiona and Cake is the cartoon I want. A very real, but also serene show with a charming, gentle animation style, with down-to-earth writing and a calm pace that takes its time. And I mean really down to earth. There's this moment where Simon randomly calls Marcy in a moment of loneliness and they have this disjointed conversation. And after the phone call, I found myself saying out loud, "Jeepers, that felt so real." There's no cliches in this cartoon. There's not even a strong story structure. I'm not going to say this is the most exciting cartoon.
This ain't Dragon Ball.
I'm going to call it the funniest. But if you want a cartoon that feels like nothing else you've ever watched, a cartoon that is a unique experience you'll remember, that just feels like life, I think this is worth your time. It takes a little bit of patience, but you'll probably remember it much better than the next random superhero cartoon you watch. Apart from BoJack, I cannot think of another cartoon where the characters have an existential crisis, you'll feel right alongside them. Another interesting example, take the scene of Finn and Simon at the bar. These character designs tell me so much about them. The tattoo on Finn's chest, the tired furrows on Simon's face, there's so many stories behind these. And when we delve even further, we can see the daily life of a god. Yeah, this is actually what I wanted Eternals to do rather than whatever the hell it was we got with that movie. We jump from daily life to multiverse hopping and everything in between. Fiona and Cake is a brilliant follow-up to Adventure Time, and it grows up with the original fans of the 2010 Adventure Time. Now in a quick interim, let's chat about a bonus entry that was requested a whole lot, but I didn't like it enough for my personal favorites or outstanding. It certainly doesn't fit in the worst category, and it's too damn interesting to not at least mention. For our bonus entry, we have Smiling Friends. Flash may be dead and Newgrounds may be forgotten, but shows like Smiling Friends continue that creative spirit that Newgrounds was all about. This one was requested a lot.
I've seen a lot of references to it, never watched it,
I'm
but
sorry, I recognize it's got some very funny writing, but it just
definitely
doesn't
has
make
an Real Monsters kind of vibe, doesn't it?
It's not my type of show.
You're just looking at this and like, what the hell's happening?
When you watch Adult Swim, you kind of know what you're signing up for. You can have brilliant writing and well-written jokes in a show like this, but generally, it's also got lots of edgelord humor and teenage-level nihilistic perspectives on society with gross-out jokes thrown in between. But there are also
anything less from Adult Swim
of genuine earnestness.
Also, why is he out of the gun?
I bet after the teacup ride, you don't want to shoot yourself with that nasty revolver anymore. Do you feel any better?
Yeah, I guess.
But honestly, I really like the premise. The story is about the 4-person charity organization Smiling Friends. Their goal, as you may have guessed by the name, is to spread some joy. Isn't that a lovely, simple premise? It reminds me of a much better version of Problem Solvers, which had a similar fun premise and talented voice actors, but a bad execution. It's also nice to see another cartoon produced in Australia in collaboration with America. There's a lot of talent in my country, and it shows in this cartoon. But yeah, let's get on to my share of pet peeves with this show.
Here we go.
For one, there's no decibel control. The music and sound will often randomly be jump scare levels of high compared to the speech, which just irks my audio editing brain because I'd never allow that in one of my videos.
Sometimes family tension.
But given the incredibly positive response from viewers and critics of the show, I really would like the perspective of people outside of just me. Let's see what the top-rated review on IMDb thinks of the show.
Adult animation has been enriched, and the network knows it. Unlike all the Simpsons or South Park duplicates, or try-hard edgy branded adult cartoons, Smiling Friends is something truly unique. The cast unites all sorts of internet greats.
And this is very true. The very first episode brings on Mike from Red Letter Media with his iconic Plinkett role.
That felt good.
I think they actually took a dump on Danpool.
The animation is, well, it's a mixed bag. Sometimes it's 2004 Newgrounds Flash levels of quality, which is not great. Other times it's very creative and bizarre with random rotoscoping. But I'm not knocking these choices. It's so damn varied and unpredictable. And I respect the hell out of giving viewers that variety. In my opinion, the show occasionally has the problem of making it smarter than it is. Like here, when Plinkett's talking, the camera slowly zooms in on him like he's saying something incredibly insightful and thought-provoking. But I've heard this tired old nihilism speak from every edgelord 13-year-old who thinks they've cracked the code on life. Hell, I remember having these thoughts, and around the Newgrounds era. Acknowledgement of finitude is a fundamental part of the human condition and just growing up. I do like some edge in a show like BoJack Horseman, but in Smiling Friends, not so much. But again, I recognize there's a lot of talent and creativity in this show as a whole. But at the end of the day, Smiling Friends is a comedy. A dark comedy, yes, but a comedy. And personally, it barely made me laugh once in 10 episodes. I don't want to lie to you if I don't enjoy something, even if it's an unpopular opinion. That shows respect to you as a person. So obviously, I'm not the right audience for Smiling Friends, but I seem to be in the minority on that. And now, how about another worst modern cartoon?
You're a villain, all right. Just not a super one.
Yeah? What's the difference?
Presentation!
Megamind rules. Oh, you know we're in for some quality programming when even the trailer is saying, "You're welcome," because we're clearly thanking it profoundly for this show's existence. Originally, Megamind was an okay DreamWorks movie from 2010. If you squint, it was alright. I like the message about accepting yourself and showing kindness despite a lack of societal acceptance, but it's painfully predictable in its character arc. Both the original movie and its sequel starred a villain, who had to, of course, become a hero, because that was the most exhaustingly formulaic and dull character twist they could come up with. Now, there's a reason you probably haven't heard much about the sequel movie, because Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate is the most abysmally received DreamWorks movie in history. Seriously, you don't get a 9% tomato meter and an 8% audience meter without making unprecedented levels of sequel garbage. I should review.
Yeah, in Rotten Tomatoes, sometimes critics can like it, but audience is not, and vice versa. You gotta be extra bad for both critics and the audience to be like, ugh, this sucks. That's basically it. I mean, Megamind, sure, it didn't get much attention. It did become meme-worthy after a while, but here, I think they were trying too much to bank on the meme stuff, but without making a great movie. I mean, that's all I'm gonna say, because frankly, I haven't seen this. Thank God. I don't think I even watched the original Megamind. Anyway.
Review this one sometime. As for this follow-up series, Megamind is becoming an influencer. Doesn't that sound charming and not at all tiring? But hey, the show has been received better than the sequel movie. I guess 2 out of 10 on IMDb is a little better than 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. But by 2 minutes in, I just felt tired.
Did I do it again? I stopped a crime! Say, banana llama ding dong!
Banana ding dong. What? The true villain is being humble. Banana
Jeez,
ding.
I swear, did Logan Paul
Also,
do this?
Something about the facial animation here just feels kind of off. The eyes feel lifeless, and why is everyone's forehead so huge? As they talk, their heads do this weird quivering thing too that makes them look more like bobbleheads.
This blows.
All the animation gives me this weird Toy Story 1
Back to the
vibe.
Barnyard.
But that's probably an insult to Toy Story 1. The dialogue itself is like this constant comedian shtick that is bombing. You can see the jokes being fired, but they just miss with shocking efficiency.
This is a television.
True.
Wasn't a question.
But was I right? Can I get a point?
Seriously, by the end of episode 1, I'd told my computer screen to shut up like 7 times. My Google Nest thinks I have a problem, but the people's opinions must be heard, according to the top IMDb review.
Don't listen to the fake 10-star reviews. This is a 1-star. It has cringe dialogue and the new characters are annoying and forgettable. They massacred my boy Megamind. He's a complete idiot in this TV series. After the awful movie squeal, they decided to release a TV series as bad as the movie. I didn't like the Megamind squeal. I think they mean sequel.
Well, they use the word squeal twice, so maybe this show makes them squeal with terror? So what's the story? Megamind wants to inspire awe and wonder in people, like his former nemesis did. So yes, as I mentioned, it's mostly about him trying to become a superhero influencer. And I tell you, he's got the me-first personality to fit right in on TikTok or this website.
Hello, my biggest fans. Your little fan knees will shake as you worship the splendor that is...
Doing the arm thing again and saying weird stuff.
Not everyone's like that, of course. I've met some incredibly kind people on this website. But a certain type of personality can do very well here. And that insufferable personality is just who Megamind is trying to be in this show. He's modeling himself after Dude Monkey.
Sup, dude Monkarinos?
The stupidest name since every other TikTok name I've heard. I mean, I guess this influencer plot kinda worked in Ralph Breaks the Internet.
But
sort
that was a whole
but
internet,
Ralph was
not
still
just
Ralph,
being
and it made him interesting trying to fit the mold of an influencer. This is just a conglomeration of obnoxious personalities in my face all at once. I just want them all to shut up. And that's pretty much what critics were unanimous about.
Yeah, they were like, okay, I'm out.
A lot of us just wanted this show to shut up. And next up, let's look at some honorable mentions. Amphibia. This started in 2019, but it's continued through to 2022, so it counts, and it's gotten a lot of recommendations.
Disney isekai, I guess.
Amphibia vaguely reminds me of Owl House. Similar to that show, a young lady stumbles into a mysterious magical world and joins a family of quirky characters. But in this case, it's frogs. And joins a family of Grandpa Hop Pop and young Sprig. Early on in season 1, the story moves at a fairly casual pace. Mostly it's just Anne bumming around the frog world and learning some of their culture. But it's very funny. Grandpa Hop Pop particularly brought me some good belly laughs. But as season 1 draws to an end, the story does throw in some great plot twists and cliffhangers too. It's a surprisingly unique world. I watched all of season 1 and I really was left wondering what was going to happen next. I really agree with Halen's review on this series.
It's both comedic and deep. Disney really stepped up their game with their fantasy adventure shows. I recommend it for those who like their fix of fantasy.
Next up, we have Fairly Odd Parents, A New Wish. Fun fact, I personally didn't like the late seasons of Fairly Odd Parents. But this, I actually enjoyed it more. It's funny and the writing is pretty good. I'm not quite sure how to feel about this animation. It's a very new style that I'm just not used to. But I like that it's not fully 3D and has a sense of 2D animation to it. As this reviewer said, it's a similar style to the Peanuts movie, which I definitely don't think is a bad thing. It also really reminded me how much cartoons have changed in the last 30 years. In this 2024 cartoon, it's not all about the kids. The parents aren't just single-layered authority figures. More often, they're painted as real people and are just as interesting as the kids are. A lot of effort is put into fleshing out the characters here with unique traits, and I appreciate that. And yes, I am gonna poke fun at the dad studying ghosts and claiming this makes him a scientist.
What you call magic, I call yet-to-be-explained science.
Oh no, I don't call it magic.
Hi, Jimmy Neutron.
Stage magic takes rigorous practice, testing, and the understanding of human perception. I call parascience bullshit.
Honey, it's okay. It's just a cartoon.
Breathe.
Let it go.
I know, but you know what? At least he has a personality. If you like the original series, I can definitely recommend trying the first 2 to 3 episodes to see what you think. Next honorable mention is Kid Cosmic. I can't not mention this one, as it was easily among the most recommended choices. This was made for Netflix by one of my favorite couples, Craig McCracken and Lauren Faust, the creator of Powerpuff Girls and the creator of My Little Pony. And I can feel little touches of both shows, but mostly Powerpuff Girls and a bit of that comic style of Tintin. We follow a kid named Kid, an easily excited young fellow who discovers rings that give people unique superpowers. And he recruits a team from the local townsfolk to help him fight aliens. The action's fast-paced, and no surprise with Craig McCracken, many of the jokes gave me a good chuckle. I'm not going to say Kid the comic book nerd is the most original character I've seen, but Joe and Papa G really help liven up Kid's team. My only complaint is a very small and pedantic one. The rings. I think they look kinda stupid. It's not a big deal.
They look rough.
Kinda stuck out to me. But still, it's an easy watch and a Netflix original, so it's not going anywhere. No changing networks, it should be around as long as Netflix is. And what a treat to see Craig and Lauren working together on a cartoon. And now for the dishonorable mention. You probably know what it is. Velma. Not many people like this show. I actually don't know.
And the fact this thing got season 2.
Do people exist that like this show? They made a sequel, so clearly they do. And by 5 minutes in, you'll probably understand why. But I've already yammered on about it before in the most hated modern cartoons, and you've probably heard many cartoon tubers talk about it. It's stupid and more exhaustingly proud of itself than many cartoons I've watched in the last few years. This is an absolute insult to the Scooby-Doo characters, and this is coming from someone who doesn't particularly like the Scooby-Doo series as a whole. Even I know Scooby-Doo can do way better than this. Do yourself a favor, ignore this junk, and give Mystery Incorporated a watch instead, because our attention will only let this garbage get another season greenlit. With those said, on to our final choices. And for the worst of the worst in modern cartoons, the new norm.
Thank God for Elon Musk.
Oh, you want the worst of the 2020s? Well, here it is. I know we've got another 5 years to go, but I will be impressed if it matches this. I almost wish this one wasn't recommended, because I had to watch it again, which, as short as it is not a pleasant experience. But it's very easily the worst modern cartoon, so in this video, we're obligated to talk about it. It's touted as the first animated sitcom on Twitter. I know it has another name, but that name is stupid, so we're calling it Twitter. And it does feel like I'm reading the top Twitter replies when I listen to this old man ranting.
Ah, my boy, or whatever it calls themselves now.
And what is the slogan of the new norm? Well, it's right here on the website's front page.
Transform our culture at
Make
times
America
such as this
funny
mission
again.
critical.
I'd say that aged badly, but given American news in 2024, maybe most Americans like that slogan? I really don't know anymore.
Just look how happy he is.
But either way, Americans certainly didn't care for this show. So what's the new norm about? Well, let's start with the very generously kind description on IMDb, which could have only been taken directly from the website of the show. Ah, yep, there it is on the front page.
An animated comedy tackling divisive issues facing America through a family-friendly lens, providing a shared space to laugh together.
I mean, I guess it gives a family-friendly space to laugh together, if you're the demographic that would actually laugh at this, which basically consists of your sexist uncle who isn't invited to Christmas anymore. Now let's hear a small number of the many review summaries on IMDb.
Fringe dialed up over 9,000. 1 star. Embarrassingly bad. 1 star. There was an attempt at humour. 1 star. Conservative Cocoa Melon. 1 star.
Cocomelon.
Nothing
Jesus
even remotely
Christ.
redeeming about this show. 2 stars.
Wait, there's 2?
Really?
Nah. 1 star.
A bad
Yeah,
show
be
can
there.
be forgiven to some degree, but an abysmally cringy, unfunny show that is so exhaustingly self-righteous and proud of itself? That's a harder one. Yet alone one so proud of itself that it gives itself a laugh track and a canned applause.
Y'all influenced my boy to cut off his junk, but draw the line at beer?
Anyway, getting to the point, the show's very similar to Mr. Burcham, but somehow even less effort put in. So little effort, even that music is AI generated. This is the plot synopsis from the fandom page. Fandom pages are traditionally run by people who are fans of the show.
The show is about some old transphobic guy who has some non-binary guy come live with him because the old transphobic guy made a bomb threat to the school.
Norm gets mad because, yep, you guessed it, things made sense in his days. Ironically, even though every progressive character is a relentlessly mocked stereotype, they still seem like more pleasant people to be around than Norm. But surely we can at least agree that the title Electile Dysfunction is among the most unfunny wordplays we've ever heard. Now, let's move on from this, because this show just makes me sad.
Leave this stuff
For
out.
my next personal favorite, we have Invincible.
Oh.
So just a warning ahead, I only recommend this cartoon to those over 17. I'll explain why.
Yeah,
as we
it gets
go.
bloody.
But holy crap, this show is engaging. I just don't know where to start with this thing. This is going to score extra points with me because I'm a fan of the superhero genre, but this is what I consider like the best version of the Kick-Ass movie. As if showing off their writing skills within the first 2.5 minutes of the first episode, they get me heavily engaged in the story of a single random security guard before immediately jumping to the White House being invaded. In 2025, I think Invincible is the kind of superhero cartoon that I'm looking for. A multi-layered story with complex characters and a morality more akin to Knights of the Old Republic 2, where there aren't always clear answers. And even if the episode doesn't always leave me happy or laughing, it's a drama and it leaves me fascinated on what's going to happen next. But heads up, this is not one to watch if you want something, light. It starts simple enough as we follow Mark, a teenager steadily gaining his superpowers.
Things are gonna start to change for you in a few years as you hit puberty.
Some people get acne and hair in their puberty. This guy gets to fly and have superhuman strength.
That's because his dad.
That'd
Oh,
make puberty a much
there.
more pleasant
Don't try.
experience for all of us. What's that? I'm angry and lonely and I don't know why? Oh well, let's go flying. Mark gradually grows into his role to becoming the superhero, Invincible.
That's a stupid name.
Screw you.
See, I told you it was stupid! Why do I keep listening to you?
I know, but this cartoon is far from
Yeah,
stupid.
it rolls.
It does start corny though, making a ridiculously steep tone jump in the second episode. It goes from silly to brutal in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
There's a
I mean,
really
Omni-Man literally
interesting
kills
plot
the
twist
heroes.
early on in the series that left me on the edge of my seat at the end of every episode. It's a good voice cast too. Everyone brings their A game and feels perfect in their roles. You'll know by the first episode's end, Omni-Man is among the main characters and is voiced by J.K. Simmons. You know, he wants those Spider-Man pictures.
I want that wall-crawling arachnid prosecuted!
Just knock some sense into the guy and throw him back where he came from.
Without giving too much away, he's required to give the nuanced performance of someone hiding something and flashing multiple red flags, but still being a superhero. And he masters that balance perfectly. One thing that immediately jumped out to me is there is a sense of brutality to some of this violence. Look at this relatively tame scene in the show.
Ooh.
Leave him alone!
The visuals and sound make that feel like it freaking hurt.
At least
There's
not having
so
kids.
many moments in the action where a thump or a whack would literally make me go out loud, "Ooh!"
Yes.
It's not one for the squeamish, as this violence is on the level of some of the ultra-violent anime I used to watch, like Gantz or Elfen Lied. Invincible uses this violence to ground you in the world.
Invincible just can't see where the point not is glad with blood.
I think Common Sense Media gave the best description of the show.
Parents need to know violence
Yeah, a
and
dark
scariness.
animated superhero
5
series.
stars. Civilians are slaughtered during battle. Characters are stabbed, decapitated, and crushed. Lots of blood and visible guts.
This is among the most atmospheric Western cartoons I've seen. It won't always leave you smiling, but not every piece of art has to. On the whole video, this was probably the hardest cartoon for me to stop watching.
Good for you, Mark.
And for my oh-so-biased #1 favorite modern cartoon...
Oh, hey, Bob.
Bob's Burgers, new seasons. Originally I chatted about how much I love this cartoon and why, but we're nearly an hour into this video, so I'll keep it short and simple.
Why not?
And if you've seen a fair bit of Bob's Burgers before, you might understand why I'd put it as my personal favorite. Bob's Burgers isn't nearly as pretty as some of these other shows, but it has some of the most realistic, likable characters I've ever seen. And it's the cartoon I've come back to again and again for 7 years. And yeah, every single one of the Belcher family is probably on the spectrum, and I love them all. So far anyway. The 2020s have been a mixed decade at best. You could comfortably make the argument for many people it's been an absolutely abysmal decade. But I think many of these cartoons are
sometimes
good news
you just
in
gotta
a
know
relentlessly difficult decade. I'm not going to lie to you that I think 2025 will be all smiles. But I'm grateful I got married to the lady I love, and I'm grateful I got to stay here thanks to 900 people. So I'll be here in the small capacity I can. Thanks for watching, and whether I see you next time or not, I'll be back. And thanks to my patron bosses and...
Hey, I'm just glad he's still doing it, but man, now he got some new anime, or at least new cartoons to check out. I mean, some we actually already know, Bob, Amazing Digital Circus, Owl House, you get the idea. Go check them out. Let me know what you guys think of the cartoons. Let me know your favorites and which ones you're glad you missed. Adios.